everyone, this is Bringonthechaos Glizzy for another What If. What if Naruto reincarnated and became a loving father? Before we start, can you like and subscribe for more What If? And if you want this, more part like this, please comment 3 hearts. And you can also say the fanfic that you want in the comment description below. And before we start, you can check out the author in the description below. Check out his stuff. He's so many. You can check out probably a lot. There's a lot of fanfiction that he made. So, I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, let's just get started.
Chapter 8. Speech. Thought. Attack creature. Chapter 8. What are you? If you asked Naruto 20 years ago how his life would turn out, his answer would probably have been something along the lines of becoming Hokage and marrying his childhood crush. Never in a million years would he have anticipated the direction his life had taken. Everything from starting a life in a new dimension, creating a family and becoming the boss of a worldwide organization were thoughts that never once crossed his mind. Though during this time Naruto was foolish enough to believe that the surprises and drastic shifts in his life were slowly becoming less frequent and he was finally getting into a more manageable and predictable way of life. However, laying naked in his bed with his blue eyes shot wide open to the ceiling, while a sleeping and naked angel laid with her exposed chest pressed against his side, Naruto finally accepted the cruel fact that his life was out of his hands and he had absolutely no clue of what fate has in store for him. MMMMHH. Griselda groaned softly, as Naruto blushed once he felt her body shift against his own. Good morning, Naruto. Good morning. The man replied with a soft blush, as he glanced to the woman from the corner of his eye. Noticing that she was slightly shifting herself onto her side to make direct eye contact with Naruto. Did you sleep well? Griselda asked with a slight giggle, as she was actually amused to see the powerful man in such a nervous state. I didn't snore or take up too much space, I hope. I got an adequate amount of sleep with all things considered. Naruto replied in an honest voice, while he tried to force his eyes away from the naked angel. Unfortunately, his perverted instincts kept getting the best of him, which resulted in Naruto taking more than a few glances at Griselda. Well, I had a wonderful sleep. In fact, it was one of the best of my life. We should definitely keep this arrangement the way it is for the foreseeable future. But isn't this bad for you? I mean, couldn't you fall? Naruto asked in a dumbfounded voice. Well, we have done nothing sinful for me to fall. We only shared a bed without any sins commented. So there isn't any chance of me falling. Though if we were to have sex I would fall. Griselda explained in a rather upbeat voice, which confused Naruto, considering she sounded way too happy about that last part. Since relations between two unmarried individuals is a sin. Well, I don't want you to fall. Naruto pointed out in a way of him trying to saying he wouldn't have sex with Griselda. Sadly for Naruto, he should have chosen his words more carefully. Oh, don't worry, Naruto, all you have to do is marry me and we can have all the sex your perverted little heart desires. After all, sex isn't a sin. It's a beautiful union between a married couple created by God. So we'll just have to wait to fulfill your perverted fantasies when the time is right. Though then again, God isn't around to cast out any angels and I'm not a natural angel. So who even knows if I can even fall? Maybe we could test that out later. Naruto was speechless, as he had no intentions of having sex with Griselda or marrying her. However, Now the angel had planted the thought into his mind of them pursuing a relationship. So that was why, as Griselda slowly got out of bed and allowed Naruto full view of her naked glory, he didn't try to dismiss anything she said. Instead, he propped himself up on his elbows and looked at the woman, the latter of whom only laughed softly and winked at the man. "I'm gonna take a shower and get ready for the day. How about you wake the kids and start breakfast?" Griselda purposed, while she walked over to grab some clothes to change into. "Then you can oogle over me while the kids are at school." "I wasn't. He make some of your famous pancakes." Griselda cut off, as she didn't allow the man a single word in to defend himself. Then with a slight sway in her hips she walked out of the bedroom with a victorious smirk. Naruto, being left alone, roughly pushed his hands into his face and took a moment to compose himself. Then, after a few seconds of trying to figure out what just happened, Naruto decided to just move on and get started on his day. So, quickly dressing himself, the man from another dimension created a few clones to wake the children within the house, while he made his way into the kitchen to start breakfast. It didn't take Naruto long to get into the full swing of preparing breakfast while the three children slowly entered the family dining room. First was Issei, who looked like a zombie that just stumbled out of his grave. A sight that led Naruto to conclude the boy wasn't much of a morning person. This was something Naruto could relate to, as he himself wasn't one for an early morning either. Though Naruto over the years grew accustomed to early mornings, but he still to this day didn't understand where Asia got her love of mornings from. Considering as the second one to arrive to the dining table, Asia skipped over beside Issei with a wide grin, showing that Asia was wide awake and in very high spirits. Finally, Zenobia was the last of the trio to arrive at the dining table and seemed to be somewhere in between Issei and Asia in terms of mood. This was because she wasn't overjoyed, nor was she a half-dead corpse. Instead, Zenobia seemed to rather calm and collected, but wasn't fully awake either. "Did you sleep well last night, Daddy?" Asia asked with a loud giggle, while she saw her father twitch. A response that gave Asia plenty of information right off the bat. "I managed," Naruto replied in an offhand tone of voice, while the man continued to work on breakfast. "Oh, I'm sure you did," Asia replied with a wide smirk, while she leaned over the table. "I ran into Mommy this morning when she was headed into the shower. She said you managed very well." Spinning around on his heels, Naruto pointed at his daughter with a mixing spoon. "What is that supposed to mean? And why are you calling Griselda Mommy? Me and her are not married." Asia giggled with an innocent smile before tilting her head to the side. "Oh, I think you know. And the reason I call her Mommy is to help me prepare myself for our cover story. As to the outside world, we are a family of 4 who took Issei in under our roof. So I'm just getting practice in perfecting our cover." Asia lied in a believable way of thought, as she truly was trying her hardest to make Griselda her actual mother. Naruto sighed and accepted his daughter's words, as he didn't have it within him to argue with Asia. Considering his daughter was fairly sly and it was hard enough to win a conversation with her, let alone during the morning when Naruto wasn't at his best. "Well, in any case, breakfast is ready," Naruto grumbled, while he began to lay food out for the 3 children, all of whom began to slowly place food onto their plates. "This is what I needed," Issei yelled with passion, as within his first bite he was instantly filled with life and practically burst out of his clothing. I could get used to eating your cooking every day, Dad. It's so good. Xenavia moaned in pleasure, while the girl dropped her fork and rested her hand against her cheek. Is everything you touch perfect? Asia smiled and clapped her hands together. Amazing as always, Daddy. The girl declared before blowing a kiss to her father. Thank you so much. Beaming with a wide and happy grin, Naruto folded his arms in satisfaction and watched the trio devour his cooking. I'm glad you three. Oi, dumbass. Where is my plate? The voice of Kurama spoke up, which made Naruto's eye twitch. Then as a vein began to pulse on his forehead, Naruto watched the fox stalk over to a chair before sitting at the table with the kids. Well, I'm waiting. 1. You're made of chakra, you don't need food. 2. I'm not getting you anything. Naruto cut back sharply, which made Kurama huff. Just because I don't need to eat doesn't mean I don't get enjoyment from it. I mean, you don't have to be such bitch, yet here we are. Kurama shot back, which made Naruto blow steam out of his nostrils and point a shaking finger at the fox in anger. Asia on the other hand merely sighed in exhaustion. I swear you two need couples therapy or something. Naruto and Kurama both looked at Asia with an annoyed look, as neither appreciated the girl's joke. Though before Naruto or Kurama could voice the displeasure, Griselda made her presence known by walking into the dining room fully dressed for the day and ready to go. Well, looks like everyone is having fun this morning. Griselda giggled, while she walked behind Asia and Xenavia before resting her hands on the girl's shoulders. Who is ready for school? Asia and Issei both groaned at the angel's question, while Xenavia didn't have much of a response. Considering she had never been within a formal school setting. So she was curious to have her first schooling experience. Do I have to go? Asia whined loudly. School actually sucks more than mommy's cooking. Griselda's eyebrow twitched. You little brat. The woman muttered softly. Asia giggled and waved the woman off. I'm only being honest because I love you. Besides, you try your best and that's all that matters. Well, Griselda's awful cooking aside, you have to go to school until we have made proper relations with the devils. Naruto spoke up, as his more serious nature took over. Also, with Xenavia, with you acting as your personal assistant and bodyguard, you'll at least have someone to make school tolerable. Asia nodded as her father was making good points about Xenavia being around to make things better. Yeah, having Xenavia around will make things better, but Issei will also be there. Asia pointed out, but Naruto merely shook his head. No, Issei won't be attending school today. Hell yeah. The perverted teen shouted in joy. Instead he shall be spending the day with Giorno learning about the Passion's operations. Naruto revealed, which made Issei shudder. Crap. The pervert muttered softly. Asia smiled with a gentle expression and stood to her feet. It won't be that bad, Issei. Besides, Giorno likes you. Kinda, but we should all head out so we can all get to where we need to be on time. Griselda nodded her head and held a hand to her side, which she used to point to the door of the house. Asia is right. Everyone load up and I'll drive you to where you need to go. The woman commanded in a sharp tone, as all the children began to comply and walk off. Naruto, I'll return shortly to help you with your daily duties with running the Passion. However, I ask that you and Kurama refrain from killing each other while I am gone. Naruto gave a smile, but Kurama scoffed at this request. Please, we are not children. Oh, I'm aware of that. The angel replied with an exhausted sigh before leaving the house with the three teenagers. Naruto, noticing everyone was gone, turned to Kurama with a sour expression. Eat shit and die. Closing his eyes, Kurama didn't even look at Naruto. Yes, fuck you. With Rias seated at her desk within her first period class. The future head of the Gremory family looked at the empty desk by her side with a rather curious expression. Considering normally the seat was occupied already by the new student Asia Uzumaki, but the girl who had captivated the attention of the young devil was currently missing. Now Rias wouldn't think much into this if Asia was a normal girl, but the young redhead was starting to suspect Asia wasn't as normal as she let on. The first red flag was how Asia appeared practically out of thin air with a new teacher that not even the student council president knew about. Then the second red flag for Rias was Asia's mother, or whom Rias saw Asia refer to as her mother. A woman that the devil could easily identify as an angel, despite the woman trying to blend into normal human society. The third flag was the pervert Issei Hayaudu, who Rias found getting rather close with Asia and who just so happened to be missing from his desk as well. Issei himself wasn't anything incredibly special in the eyes of Rias, but was someone of interest that she had been observing from a distance. Despite that, Asia had clearly formed some relation with Issei for some reason. Rias just couldn't for the life of her figure out why, as she couldn't pinpoint any of Asia's motives. Let alone deduce what Asia truly was, as she clearly wasn't an angel or devil. However, at the same time Rias had a very strong intuition that Asia wasn't a mere human either. Rias struggled over the complete conundrum that was Asia Uzumaki, and just minutes before first period was about to begin, Rias was suddenly taken from her thoughts once she saw Asia walking into the classroom by herself with a rather happy smile, which was directed straight at Rias. Good morning, Rias. I hope you're doing well. Asia began in a kind and sweet tone, showing her genuine kind-hearted nature. Keeping her rather calm and collected composure, Rias simply nodded in response and watched Asia take her seat. Yes, I've been quite well. I hope you've been the same. I began to worry that you would be absent, as you're never late to class. Asia laughed softly. Yes, my mommy had to drop off something to my older brother. Asia explained, as that something she referred to was Issei. Then she had me help someone special before coming to class. So I was a little behind my normal routine. Rias raised her brow at this information. You have a brother? Well, technically I have 8 older brothers and 1 big sister. Asia revealed with a giggle, as she saw the rather surprised look on the devil's face. That's a rather large family. I would have never imagined. Rias admitted honestly, while now realizing her puzzle that was Asia Uzumaki just got even more pieces to work with. I would love to meet them, but I am curious, did you manage to fill out those club application papers? Actually, yes, I did. Asia replied in a happy voice, while she reached into a small leather case that she used to hold her school supplies. Here you go. Accepting the papers with a rather pleased expression, Rias gave the forms a quick one-over before looking back to Asia with a smile. Everything seems to be in perfect order. I'll make sure Sona gets these after class lets out. Also, how would you like stopping by the clubhouse after school to familiarize yourself with the other members? Asia clapped her hands and tilted her head. Oh, I would adore that, but there is a slight problem. See, for the rest of the day I'll be having a new student following me around. So unless she could join us, I cannot accompany you to the clubhouse, as I have my responsibilities. I'm sure something can be arranged. I am the club president and Sona. The student council president is a dear friend of mine. Rias explained, but quickly shifted her face into a confused expression. Though I find it rather odd that you're showing a new student around. I wasn't aware of another new student, and you yourself are still fairly new to this school anyhow. Well, you will meet her soon enough, and once you do, everything will make a little more sense. Asia explained in a rather cryptic manner. Rias opened her mouth to speak, but before she could say anything, the door to the classroom opened to reveal Bruno, who walked into the room with a calm and commanding aura. Good morning, class. Bruno greeted formally, while resting a briefcase onto his desk. Good morning, Mr. Bucciarati. The class chorused together. Bruno nodded and relaxed against his desk. Today, before we start our lesson, we have a new student to welcome. With that said, Bruno looked to the door and made a simple gesture with his hands for the person to enter. Please introduce yourself. Walking into the classroom slowly, Xenavia took everyone's attention away instantly. A response that made Asia grin ear to ear in joy, while Rias merely looked between both girls. As the devil managed to catch the quick nod that both Asia and Xenavia shared. Greetings everyone, my name is Xenavia Uzumaki, it's a pleasure to meet you all. With her formal introduction out of the way, Xenavia took a calm and collected bow of respect. I look forward to getting to know you all. However, calm and collected was the exact opposite of the classroom. Considering at first they believed Xenavia was just another new student, but no one was expecting for the girl to reveal her last name as the same last name as their last new student. This of course caused everyone, and especially Rias, to look at Asia with an absolutely dumbfounded expression. A reaction that made the rather cheerful blonde smile wide and giggle. Everyone is looking at me. I guess she should also mention. Asia began before clapping her hands together and smiling with childlike innocence. That she's also my big sister. Sister. The class yelled loudly, while looking between the two girls who shared absolutely no family similarities. Yes, Asia is my younger sister. Xenavia spoke up in a rather firm and emotionless tone. With that being said, I hope you've all been treating my sweet baby sister well. If not, I'll be forced to kill you. Asia laughed and frantically waved her hand around nervously. She's joking, guys. Xenavia is just funny like that. Keeping a rather dry and serious face, Xenavia didn't back down on her declaration. No, I'm not. Dad even gave me permission to kill. Bruno folded his arms and sighed, as he should probably get a hold of the situation before it spiraled out of control. Xenavia, why don't you go take a seat in the back with your sister so we can start our lesson? Nodding her head and approaching the back of the class, Xenavia smiled at Asia before taking her seat. Did you find everything okay? Asia asked, while she turned around in her desk to face Xenavia. Yes, everything was just as you explained it. Great. I think Daddy arranged everything so we will have all our classes together. That way you can stick close to me for the majority of the day. That's acceptable, but why is that girl looking at me still? Xenavia asked while cupping her hand around her mouth and pointing not so discreetly towards Rias. Is she trying to flirt with me? Her cheeks turning a crimson red to match her hair, Rias was at a loss for words. Asia on the other hand giggled in response. No, well I don't think so. Though regardless, that's my friend Rias I was telling you about. It's a pleasure, Rias. I hope my little sister hasn't caused you any trouble. She tends to attract a decent amount of misfortune, Xenavia declared, which of course earned a pout from Asia. Rias on the other hand laughed and extended her hand out to Xenavia. No, I've enjoyed my time knowing Asia and I hope to get to know her sister as well. Accepting the hand, Xenavia merely nodded. Likewise. With Giorno and Issei. Within the Passion-owned restaurant, Giorno was currently off in a back office of the establishment. He was seated behind a large wooden desk and radiated an intimidating aura that if anyone didn't know better would mistake the man for the boss of the gangster organization based off his presence alone. Though the most surprising thing was the black cat, which was snuggled into the man's lap and allowing Giorno to stroke its back. Meanwhile, the only other person within the room was Issei, who was nervously flanking Giorno's side and waiting in silence. The young teenager didn't know why he was here or what his role was, but he was told to stay near Giorno and observe. So that's what he planned on doing until told otherwise. However, a sudden knock at the door earned Issei's attention and caused Giorno to casually wave his right hand. You may enter. The second in command of the Passion began, while the door opened to reveal Mista and an older gentleman who Issei didn't recognize. Issei then watched as Mista closed the door and carefully walked over to the opposite side of Giorno, leaving the unfamiliar gentleman standing rather nervously before the group of gangsters. Well, Giorno began in a rather calm voice, while his hands trailed along the cat within his lap. What brings you to my humble establishment? I've traveled all the way from Kyoto to meet with you. The fast-spreading rumor is that you're the new rising power in all of Japan from overseas. The man began in a rather erratic tone, showing that he was clearly shaken. I request a favor in dealing with the local yakuza in the area. See, I owe them protection money, but I can't pay what they are demanding and they have my wife and daughter. So I ask of you to save my family. Issei was shocked by the man's words, but as he glanced over to his fellow gangsters he was more than shocked, considering neither Giorno or Mista gave the man an ounce of sympathy with their facial expressions. Instead, Giorno merely closed his eyes and sighed. You come to me, a man who you don't even know, and beg for a favor, fully realizing that you're just selling yourself off to another organization. Giorno began in a stern and emotionless voice. But I heard you guys are differ. And not to mention the disrespect. Giorno cut in sharply, while he slightly inched forward and the man began to tremble. Not once did you pay your respects for me allowing this meeting, nor did you offer your hand out in friendship. Instead you try to talk over me. It's just disrespectful. I'm sorry. The man cried out, while he bowed down and pressed his forehead onto the floor. Please forgive me. Giorno didn't flinch and instead turned his head to Issei. You know I'll overlook the disrespect out of the kindness in my heart. However, in return I'll leave the fate of your life and family in the hands of my new little recruit. So tell me, Issei, what is your choice? Abandon this man or offer a helping hand? Issei was surprised to be placed on the spot so quickly and knew in his heart what the right option was. However, the intense looks of both Giorno and Mista made the boy question if this was some type of test and made his judgment slightly shifted. Though the moment he saw the man look up and gaze at him with a desperate face, Issei knew what he had to do. We help him and his family. The holder of the boosted gear declared, which made the man gasp in relief and Giorno nod. Very well, Mista have Naranika and Fugo save this man's family and discreetly eliminate any members of the Kyoto Yakuza that doesn't comply with our takeover of the area. Giorno ordered sternly, while at the same time holding his hand out to the man begging for his help. And you, the day may or may not come when the passion comes to collect upon the debt you owe us. However, for now you may show your respect and sleep knowing your family will be safe and protected. The man stumbled forward and kissed Giorno's outstretched hand. Thank you, the man cried out. Simply nodding and retracting his hand, Giorno looked to Mista. Show him out. Right away. Mista replied, while he quickly showed the man out of the room, leaving Issei alone once more with Giorno and the man's cat. So tell me, Issei, what is your opinion on how the passion operates? This of course is only a small glance at our organization and how we run things, but is still a good experience. Well, I'm a little confused actually, Lord Giorno. Just Giorno is fine. No need for any formalities with me, but share you confusion and maybe I can help. Well, the passion is out to better humanity and the world. Though we still conduct some illegal operations, kill people on occasion and at times like now don't outright help the weak in need. Well, let me explain something to you, Issei, and I hope you take this to heart. No matter how hard we try, people will break the law, kill one another and always pursue their own selfish interests. A world without these horrible acts only lives in a fool's mind or an oppressed world. That is the harsh reality we live in, but the passion strives for something better than that. We aim to be the world power that establishes and protects a worldwide peace, while also giving out as much freedom as we can. We operate as a gang to raise our influence and power. We offer second chances to those who go against us, but if they threaten others and the peace, we do not shy from killing. We also do not help everyone with a sob story, Issei. We must always remember that every action has a consequence that follows after our actions. So each choice must be weighed with knowledge and expectations of cause and effect. It's never wise to act off emotions. So we will soon see the effects of the choice you made here today. Let's just hope you made the right choice. I never thought of it like that, Giorno. Issei admitted honestly, which made the seasoned gangster nod. And that's fine, you're here to learn after all. Father has taken a liking to you despite him not saying so to your face. With that being said, Father has high expectations for your future, but cannot always be around to help foster your growth. So he has asked me to mentor you and shape you into a valuable member of the organization. Really? In that case, I won't let either of you two down. The teenager promised in a bold tone, which made Giorno smirk. I'm glad to hear that. The Occult Research Club. Rias was currently seated on a large red sofa within her club's headquarters and sipping on a cup of tea, which was prepared by her queen Akano. The latter of whom was sitting across from Rias with her usual smile. However, the duo were not alone within the clubhouse. Considering both Kiba and Koneko were within the room as well. Kiba was busy relaxing against a wall, while Koneko was munching on a snack and looking out of the clubhouse window. Currently the small peerage of Rias Gremory was waiting for their two guests Asia and Xenavia, but were also discussing how they should approach those two guests once they arrived. So let me get this straight, President. Koneko began in a firm tone. That Asia girl I saw the other day not only came out of nowhere with a new teacher, but now she suddenly has a sister that came out of nowhere as well. Yes. Rias answered in a simple tone. And you suspect her mother is an angel? Kiba asked, which caused Rias to nod. Oh my, this Asia is quite the mystery, isn't she? Akano chuckled in a rather amused voice. I wonder what her true intentions are. I mean, she did actively seek out to join our club. She's obviously more than she lets on. Which is why we should be on our guard around her, but also I've decided today we get to the bottom of who she really is and what she wants. Rias revealed in a serious voice, while setting her tea down onto a small table. So I want each of you to prepare for the worst, but at the same time don't act or speak foolishly. Of course, President. The trio of devils spoke together respectively, which earned a small smile from their king. Thank you. With that being said, the room fell into a momentary silence. However, that ended the moment Koneko spotted both Asia and Xenavia approaching from the window. President, they are here. The youngest of the group announced. Good. Kiba, would you please show them in? Bowing to his leader, Kiba smiled. It would be my honor, President. Rias watched her servant leave and waited in silence for him to return with the guests. Luckily Rias didn't have to wait long, as Kiba quickly returned with both Asia and Xenavia in tow. Hello everyone. Asia began in an enthusiastic and cheerful voice that filled the room with positivity. I'm sorry we took so long, but I had to show Xenavia a few things around the school. You're fine. Rias replied with a friendly laugh, while holding a hand to a small lover seat. Please take a seat. Why, thank you. Asia giggled before taking her seat, which was to the right of where Rias was sitting. You're welcome. Rias began, but raised her brow in curiosity as she watched Xenavia stand protectively to the side of Asia. Standing with an expression and body language of a bodyguard and not one of an overprotective sister. Xenavia, would you like a seat for yourself? No, I'm quite fine where I am. The blue-haired girl replied, which only raised the suspicions that Rias had. Very well, suit yourself. Would either of you care for some tea? Akano makes a wonderful blend. Asia shook her hand and smiled. No, we are both fine. Rias nodded, but continued to find it odd how Asia even spoke for Xenavia at times. Obviously something wasn't right with the situation and it was driving Rias crazy. Well then, why don't we get down to business? Rias offered. That's acceptable. Asia began while she folded her hands over her lap. But tell me, what business are you referring to? Rias kept a calm and calculated gaze and thought over her words and actions with caution. There was a million ways she could go about this, but sometimes the most direct route is the best choice. What are you exactly and what is your motives? Rias asked in a stern voice, while her eyes hardened directly onto Asia. And don't lie to me. Oh, such ferocity. Asia giggled softly, while she looked right back at Rias with a cheerful expression. Well, I don't really understand what you mean. I'm just a simple and innocent high school student. I'm not a devil like you four. The room was silent, as the entire room of devils looked at the blonde with shocked expressions. Meanwhile Asia merely kept a rather amused eye smile directed at Rias. Oh, but I do have a hidden agenda of sorts. Asia added in. I want to become your friend. Shaken from her initial shock, Rias was now on full guard. Okay, you have 10 seconds to tell me who you really are and what you're after. Sensing the hostility, Xenavia slightly stepped forward to protect Asia, but was stopped by the young blonde who laughed and held her hand out. No need to jump the gun, Xenavia. I told you before we came here that there was no need for any violence. Now Rias. Asia began as she turned her attention to the crimson-haired devil. You already know the answers to your questions. I am Asia Uzumaki and all I want is to become your friend. Forgive me for not believing you, but you're very suspicious. You and Xenavia both come out of nowhere with a new teacher and you also happen to have a mother who is an angel. Nothing about you is normal. Rias pointed out. Well, for starters, Griselda isn't really my mom, but I would like her to marry my daddy. Mainly because I want a mommy harem, but let's not talk about my hobbies. Instead, I guess I should properly introduce myself since it's better if we are both on the same page. Though before that, Bruno, why don't you come out here as well? The room of devils was confused, but as they heard the sound of a zipper their eyes shot over to a wall, where a large zipper was undoing itself to reveal the new teacher Bruno Bucciarati, who walked out of the hole created by the zipper and walked over to Asia before bowing on one knee. I'm at your command, Lady Asia, Bruno declared, stunning the devils at the respect Bruno was showing Asia. Thank you, Asia replied happily, while turning her attention back to Rias one final time. Anyhow, I am Asia Uzumaki, daughter of the most powerful man alive, who wishes to outstretch a hand of friendship between humans and devil. The most powerful man alive? Akano asked in confusion. I've never heard of him. Nor have I, Rias added in, while folding her arms across her chest. And what's this about wanting to establish a friendship between humanity and devils? A majority of humans don't even know that the factions or supernatural exist. True, but my daddy's organization, the Passion, does. We are a worldwide underground organization centered around creating and protecting peace. My daddy wishes to meet with the devils to build peaceful relations. So I was sent here to establish relations with you in order to set up a meeting between my daddy and your brother. So that's what you're after, but what if I were to say no? Rias asked. Well, that would be unfortunate because we really want to make peace with all the factions. I mean, we already have bad relations with the angels since we took all their churches and kicked them off of Earth. So we could do something similar to the devils, but we truly don't want that. You kicked the angels off of Earth? Akano asked in surprise. That's what I just said. Asia giggled. Nonsense, Rias shouted in disbelief. No human has the power required to accomplish such a feat. The three factions fought each other to a stalemate years ago, and despite the heavy casualties, no faction had the power to overtake one another. It's impossible for a human to do as you've said. Well, my daddy did, and his takeover of the churches was off a whim. I mean, if he wanted, my daddy could annihilate all three of the biblical factions, but like I said, he wants peace, not bloodshed. So what do you say, Rias? Wanna help me and grant my daddy an audience with your brother? Rias was silent and didn't allow much of her emotions to show through. Bring your father here and I will decide if he can have a meeting with my brother or not. Well, I guess that's a start, Asia mumbled, while she turned her head to Bruno. Go ahead and call Daddy and tell him to come to our location for a meeting with Rias. Bruno nodded and grabbed his cell phone. Right away, Lady Asia. With Naruto sitting behind his desk with a massive mound of paperwork. Naruto was busy signing his signature on one page, while his eyes glanced over another. Meanwhile, Griselda was by his side and pointing to different forms and explaining the logistics of each one. Sign here and we will have successfully purchased the oil industries in the Middle East. Griselda explained softly, while she looked to Naruto with a smile. That should not only increase the Passion's net worth, but will also give us a handy bargaining chip in dealing with a majority of Western governments. Naruto nodded and handed the signed copies to his secretary. And what are these forms? Griselda pointed to the form with a pleased expression. Risotto sent these as a request to take a majority of the churches we have taken and transform them into free health clinics and shelters. The details of how they are funded and staffed and all laid out, and I've already gone through them. It's a reasonable idea that relocates some of the church deserters and gives them a purpose. All it needs is your approval. Trusting what Griselda was saying, Naruto signed the documents without having to read them for himself. Sounds great. Griselda nodded, but lifted her brow as the phone on Naruto's desk began to ring. So reaching outward, the angel grabbed the phone and brought the device to her ear. The office of Naruto Uzumaki, Griselda speaking. Oh, I see. Griselda mumbled in response, while holding the phone to Naruto. It's Bruno. Taking the phone for himself, Naruto smiled wide. What can I do for ya, Bruno? Wait already. Okay, I'll be over immediately. Naruto then hung the phone up and looked to Griselda. Looks like we have to take a break. Asia is with the devils and they are wanting to meet me. That happened sooner than expected. I thought she wanted to really get on good terms with the devils before moving forward. Naruto nodded. As did I, but maybe something happened to accelerate those plans. Regardless, would you care to join me for this meeting? Griselda smiled softly. I wouldn't mind at all. Well then, let's go talk to some devils. With Asia. Watching Bruno remove the phone from his ear with a smile, Asia tilted her head and laughed. So is Daddy on his way? Bruno nodded softly. Yes, the boss will be coming shortly. Asia nodded happily, while Rias merely shifted slightly in her seat. So when can we expect your father to Ari? Hey princess. The chipper voice of Naruto called out happily, which caught Rias completely off guard. In fact, all four devils turned to the man with shocked faces and were frozen in place. Considering Naruto was currently standing off to the side with a rather cheerful expression, but it wasn't the man's appearance that left the devils stunned. Rather, it was how the man appeared in such a short time without alerting anyone of his presence. Then there was the angel to the side of Naruto, who was standing in all her beauty and glory. Daddy! Asia yelled happily, while she ran forward and hugged the man. You took your time getting here. Did you get sidetracked with Kurama again? Rias and the rest of her peerage were dumbfounded by Asia's question, which implied the man got there slower than normal. leading the devils to believe that maybe what Asia was saying about her father may have been true after all. Nah, that bastard fox was asleep and I've had enough of him for a while. Just got caught up with some paperwork that slowed me down. Naruto joked with a loud booming laughter. Boss. Runo spoke respectively, while taking a knee before the man. I'm at your disposal. Naruto grinned and motioned for his subordinate to stand. Thank you Bruno, but you're free to go and enjoy the rest of your day. I'll handle everything else from here. Okay, but I shall be ready at a moment's notice if you need me. Runo replied, which made Naruto nod and pat his subordinate's shoulder. I appreciate that, son, but Xenophia, don't just stand there awkwardly, come over here and give you old man a hug. Naruto teased playfully, while the blue-haired girl slowly walked forward. It's good to see you, Dad. Xenophia began while she was brought into a crushing hug along with Asia. You and Mom will be pleased to hear that I had a good first day of school. That's great. Naruto cheered in a happy voice, while Griselda merely coughed into her hand. Naruto, you can dote over the girls later. You have a meeting right now after all. The angel reminded in a firm voice, which made the man laugh loudly. I guess you have a point. So let's get down to business. Naruto declared with a shift in attitude before walking over to the chair Asia was in moments ago. Then by taking his seat he was flanked by his daughters and assistant. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, leader of the Passion and the strongest man alive. It's a pleasure to meet you, Rias Gremory, along with your little servants. Rias looked the man over from head to toe, noticing that despite being Asia's father he looked more like an older brother. Considering the man seemed to look rather young like most devils do, but despite his rather goofy and overbearing personality he held himself with an incredible aura of power. All in all, Rias was finding it hard to believe that Naruto was human. However, regardless of what Naruto was, she was a devil of House Gremory. Meaning she had to present herself with elegance and power before those she spoke to, which resulted in Rias returning Naruto's introduction with a mere nod. Yes, I am aware of who you are, but Asia has expressed that you wish for an audience with my brother and not myself. Rias began in a rather bold and superior tone, which made Naruto inwardly sigh. Yes, I've been told your brother holds a good deal of power and influence among the devil faction. So I was hoping a meeting between him and myself would be quite helpful for both humanity and devils. Rias kept a rather neutral expression and folded her arms. I don't understand how humanity can offer the devils anything besides, sir. Well, from my understanding we can offer you a good deal of things. Naruto cut in sharply, as his jovial side was now gone along with his patiences, leaving a surprised Rias at the mercy of Naruto's cold-hearted glare. But I don't have to tell a child these things, as like you said I'm wanting to speak with your brother. Not you. Rias sucked her teeth in anger, but didn't speak a word. Instead it was Asia's nervous laugh that pierced the silence. Now Daddy, be nice. Remember, you don't want another situation like with the angels. Turning towards his daughter, Naruto shrugged his shoulder. I suppose you have a point, Asia, but still you know more than anyone that we Uzumaki have thin patience. True, but that's why I am here to help you the best I can, Asia replied. Naruto nodded with a soft smile, as he truly loved and appreciated his daughter. And I'm grateful for that, but tell me, Rias. The man began slowly, while he looked back to the devil. Will you allow me to meet your brother? Rias thought over her response, as her words and actions did directly affect the devil faction. So she had to properly evaluate and weigh her next words carefully. However, before Rias could even formulate a thought, a large teleportation circle inscribed with the sigil of the Grimoire house burst to life for everyone present to see. Then before anyone could say anything, the figure of Venelana Grimoire appeared before everyone. Mother. Rias stuttered in surprise, as she would have never dreamed of the woman appearing in such a fashion. Naruto raised his brow in interest, as he had never looked into any information over the woman standing before him. Though he could at least tell from first impressions that she was rather unique, and that was enough to cause the man to eyeball her. Asia, on the other hand, caught her father looking the devil over, and this made the girl grin. Even more so when she saw not a single ring on Venelana's hands. My apologies, Rias, it looks like I'm intruding on something. Venelana began in a rather respectful tone of voice, while holding herself with high ladylike esteem. I can see my timing is rather poor, as you're among interesting company. Oh, think nothing of it. Asia spoke up in a happy voice, as she to everyone's surprise walked up to the woman and held her hand out. It's a pleasure to meet you, Lady Grimoire. I am your daughter's friend Asia Uzumaki. Venelana smiled softly and accepted Asia's hand. It's wonderful to meet one of my daughter's friends. My name is Venelana Bale Grimoire. Asia nodded with a curious expression. Tell me, will Lord Grimoire be making an appearance as well? Venelana looked slightly disheartened along with Rias, but off to the side Griselda's eyes began to widen slowly. Considering she knew exactly why Asia was asking the question. Oh, I see, Rias hasn't told you yet, but we lost my husband years ago to a horrible sickness. So there currently is no Lord Grimoire, which is partially why I am here. Rias slightly twitched at what her mother said, as she could only think of one thing involving her late father that affected her. Unfortunately, before she could speak to her mother, Asia nodded sadly. I'm sorry to hear that, Lady Grimoire, and I sympathize with you. I myself lost my mom a few years ago, and my poor daddy has been so alone ever since. Actually, I'm being rude. I should introduce you to my daddy. Asia declared as she ran over and grabbed her father's arm. Then, by pulling the man out of his seat, she discreetly sent Griselda a sly smirk and wink. That brat. Griselda mumbled softly, while she watched Naruto get forcefully dragged by his daughter. So she's started. Xenavia whispered in exhaustion. Daddy, don't be shy and introduce yourself. Asia ordered, as she practically shoved the man into Venelana. An action that made the man laugh nervously and hold his hand out. Ah, it's nice to meet you, Venelana. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto greeted with a wide smile, which made the devil tilt her head. Naruto Uzumaki. I swear I've heard that name somewhere before. Venelana admitted with confusion in her voice, while she studied the man's rather attractive features. Well, my daddy is a famous author. Asia pointed out cheerfully. He writes all those dirty, perverted books that people like. Asia. Naruto shouted with a blush, while looking down at his daughter. Venelana, on the other hand, perked up with intrigue. That's right. Oh, I love your books, they are so detailed and sinful. I'm a big fan, I even have all your books at home. I would love for you to sign them. Venelana admitted with enthusiasm, which surprised Naruto and made Asia giddy with excitement. Meanwhile off to the side Akano leaned into Rias with a smirk and cupped her hand around her best friend's ear. Watch out, President, looks like you might end up with a new daddy if you're not careful. And I emphasize the word daddy. Backing away with a blush, Rias was completely flustered. Akano. The king stuttered, while looking directly at her mother and seeing that the woman was actually smiling. A sight that genuinely filled the girl with happiness, as her mother's smile was a rare thing to see after her father passed. However, Rias needed to focus on the reason her mother was here in person. Mom, can you please tell me why you're here? Being taken away from her rather pleasant conversation with Naruto, Venelana looked to her daughter with sadness. That's right, I should get to the point. I came here to tell you that the date of your marriage to Riza has been accelerated and Riza wishes to meet with you to plan for the wedding. I am sorry there wasn't anything I or your brother could do. So I'm forced to marry the disgusting man. Yes, I'm sorry. Venelana mumbled. Rias deflated in defeat, while Akano merely rested a supporting hand onto her friend. Naruto and Asia on the other hand both frowned. Anyone could understand the situation by Rias and Venelana's words, but nobody could feel the emotions Rias was going through like the father and daughter duo could. In fact, it was a deep sadness and overwhelming depression that actually upset both Naruto and Asia. So you're forced into a marriage against your will and placed into a situation where you cannot experience love for yourself. Naruto mumbled softly, while he slowly approached Rias and bent down onto one knee before the girl. I'm truly sorry, but if you like I could try to help you. Rias was surprised to her very core, as a man who she was rather rude to and hardly knew was willing to help her. There is no point, besides you just want to meet with my brother. You could do that without pretending to help me. Rias replied stubbornly. I could, that goes without saying, but I truly wish to help you. Naruto began softly, while placing his hand over his heart. And if you will accept my help I promise to get you out of your situation. That's a promise and I never go back on my promises. Asia smiled at her father with happiness, as she loved the man's kind heart. Griselda and Venelana on the other hand looked to the man with admiration, as they found his words endearing. Especially Venelana, who valued the man's resolve to help her daughter. So what will it be, Rias? Will you accept my help? Naruto asked with a soft and kind smile. Tears on the corner of her eyes and with no hope left in her heart. Rias merely nodded her head and looked at the man. Yes, I'll take your help. Naruto smiled and slowly stood up and looked over to Venelana. Alright then, where is this Riza guy at? I'd like to have a little chat with him. Chapter end.
Oh, you're in the end. That's crazy. Okay. Like and subscribe for more what ifs. If you like this video, please comment 3 hearts. And also you can say the fanfic that you want. If you want to check out the author, you can see in the description below. You can check out the author and enjoy some more fan fiction. So, gentlemen, I'm out. Peace.